Now, I want to talk about Turkey as well. And here there's an interesting story having to do with religion and commerce. And this is a story of the visit to Turkey in 2006 of Pope Benedict, the next to last Pope. And so during his visit, he went to the so-called Blue Mosque, which is a 17th century jewel of a monument. And while he was visiting the mosque, something attracted his attention as he was leaving the mosque. It was a tableau with a very nice calligraphy inside. So he asked his guide, what does that say? And the guide said to him that, well, it's basically that a merchant is the beloved of God. Okay, another translation of that religious line is that he who earns his bread is a friend of God. But the logic is quite significant because it really shows not only the centrality of commerce and free enterprise, but also the fact that worshippers, when they leave the mosque, there's a strong chant that the last thing they will see is a call to commerce. Okay, so in my work on Islamic economics and Islamic finance, I was always very interested in many of those aspects of Islam, which also explain why for many centuries Islam was the dominant economic system. Islamic law governed commerce across continents, etc. And the one point that I want to add to what you've heard before is that not only is the market process and private property quite central, but these must be complemented by an ethical and a legal system. So most importantly, there is the system of qirad, which became the mudaraba system in modern finance, which is a forerunner of venture capitalism, as well as many other corporate forms. But one thing that is interesting about that form of commerce is that it existed in the Jahiliyyah already. You had the caravan trades that were organized based on an association of effort and capital. But what Islam brought was ethical norms as well as a legal system that was many centuries in the making. And this is where we can see, again, interesting specificities to Islam. One is the association of merchants with religious scholars. And the existence of religious scholars allowed the merchants to know that what they were doing was religiously acceptable, it was halal. And this is another interesting form of the checks and balances that we see in Islam, in that making money is good, being a merchant is good, but at the same time, in the way you make money, there are rules, primarily moral rules. And then once you're a wealthy person or well-off person, then you have obligations as well to society at large. And these elements must not be forgotten, because there are certain controls, outside controls, that are necessary for a system to work well. So I've been teaching a course on Islamic finance at the Fletcher School for about 11 or 12 years. And the one part of the course that I think is quite central is an explanation of something that many people have never heard of, and it's something called gharar. And I also often do seminars for banks on Islamic finance, and I always realize that most people have a very superficial understanding of gharar, which is often translated superficially as excessive risk-taking. But the reality of gharar is that it is really about asymmetrical information. So it is about the fact that the seller very often knows more than the buyer. And in order to avoid exploitation and predatory practices, then there must be certain rules that are rooted in ethics. And this is, I think, extremely important to understand why, for example, Islamic finance did not suffer the way conventional finance did in 2008, because many transactions involving complex derivatives, etc., were forbidden because they involve gharar. So another way of looking at the Islamic tradition as far as free enterprise is that there's also an essential pragmatism that comes with it. And this pragmatism appears if you consider the variety of processes that exist in Islam to mitigate or moderate certain excesses, and in certain cases to allow for departure from principles. For example, you have the principle of maslaha, or the principle of darura, which would provide for certain exceptions to prevailing rules. And I can give you one quick example involving Iran, of all places, on the question of the use of darura. After the revolution in 1979, there was a big religious debate over what to do with the assets, the considerable assets of the Shah, of the former Shah, as well as his cronies. And there were debates among the religious hierarchy in Iran. And the majority of the religious scholars said, we cannot confiscate his assets because this would be completely un-Islamic. And this is when the Ayatollah Khomeini, who was politically quite savvy, who prevailed by saying that we can invoke darura, or in Persian transliteration, zarura, which basically says that the overwhelming goal, the really most important goal, is to save the Islamic revolution. And in the process, it is acceptable to break the rule. So I would want to stress the fact that checks and balances are very important. And I think Turkey, to go back to this wonderful country here, in Turkey, there's an interesting mechanism of checks and balances, which is all of the secular components of the constitution that can be mixed with the religious element that is currently present in the ruling political party, and provide this kind of best of both worlds mix. Thank you very much.